Duke, and I am the manager of the analytics team. And here, the lightning talks are here to give teams in the engineering product organization a chance to demo a quarterly goal that they've reached or a significant milestone. And we also open lightning talks up to the community to show what they've achieved. Now, without lightning talks last 10 minutes, so there will be time for questions at the end. And if you're local, please raise your hand or go to the microphone for questions. And if you're remote, go to the channel Wikimedia Tech, and I will be monitoring the IRC channel and will relay your questions. Also, Megan will give an announcement, 2 minutes left and 1 minute left, and when your time is up, I will jump in. So without further ado, our first lightning talk is by Marcel on the PageView API. Hi, Marcel.
Hello. Sorry. So yeah, I'm Marcel Ruiz-Forens. I'm a developer in the analytics team, and I'm going to talk about the newly released Wikimedia Foundation's PageView API. Let me share my screen so you can see the presentation. Oh, okay. So the PageView API is a long time ago story. For several years, people inside the foundation and in the community have been asking for this API. Lots of people have participated in bringing new ideas, having discussions, designing the API, implementing it, and productionizing it. And you can see some of their names on this list. So how does it look like? What does the API? What is it? I thought the best way to do this would be a quick live demo. So please feel free to follow me in your browser by clicking on those links. I'm going to open them in separate tabs so I can explain it better. The PageView API is a collection of public URLs that return analytic data about page views on Wikimedia sites, Wikimedia wikis. The first link is the root URL. Let me zoom a little bit so you can see better. Okay. It's the root URL for the PageView API. It returns the list of endpoints that the API offers. There are 3 endpoints right now. One is called aggregate, second is per article, and then top. And I'm going to go for each one of them separately, one by one. First one is aggregate. Okay. This endpoint returns a time series of page view counts for a given project. Okay, in this case, I've chosen English Wikipedia, and also you can specify a couple of filters, whether you want to see the whole page views or just the page views for the desktop page, the desktop site, or the mobile website, or the mobile app site. And also you can specify whether you want to see page views generated by human users or machine users. You must also specify the time granularity and the date range. In this case, I've chosen the month of October. And the results are like this. So it's JSON formatted, and there's one item for each day in this case. And for each day, you get the timestamp and the view count. For English Wikipedia, desktop, desktop site, user, human user. So here can you see 1st of October, 2nd of October, and the page views. Cool. Now to the second endpoint. The second endpoint is called per article, and it's basically the same as the first one, with the difference that you can specify the article name. I've chosen Albert Einstein's article in English Wikipedia for the same period, and the results are practically identical, but just you get page views for your chosen article. Okay, now for the third endpoint, it's called top, and it returns the top 1,000 most viewed articles for a given project. You can also apply some filters, and you have to give a time span. I've chosen 31st of October 2015. And if we look at the results, we get main page, of course, is the number 1 with close to 18 million views. Search page is number 2, and it goes on. It's curious that number 5 in rank is Halloween, which makes sense because of the date. Cool. Let me zoom back. And how does it work? So I've made a small diagram. Imagine this is the readers of Wikimedia sites. They access our MediaWiki system and hit the caching layer, which is Varnish. Varnish responds to the requests, but at the same time generates a lot of request logs. Those logs are forwarded to Kafka by a program named Varnish Kafka. Kafka is our message broker, and it helps buffering the request logs until they can be imported into Hadoop. Hadoop is our distributed computing environment for big data, and we have a couple jobs in Hadoop that identify among these raw requests, identify the page views, because not all requests are page views. By the way, they use the page view definition created by the research team. And after that, they aggregate this data into the format expected by the database and insert that into Cassandra, which is a chosen database. And the last step in the chain is RESTbase, which is the software that powers and serves the PageView API. It queries Cassandra and it provides the endpoint. Cool, so what can you do with it? Analytics team has developed this small demo that's called article comparison that can compare 2 or more articles together and charts the timelines, the time series in a graph. You can choose the project that you want, you can choose the time range, and of course the articles. This is a very naive example with cat and dog, but you can add more things. For sure you will find a more interesting example, but sorry. You can see that this this gets suggestions for articles in the MediaWiki API. Okay, you can see how it works. You can also choose another wiki of your choice. Like I'm Catalan, so I like Catalan wiki. I can compare typical dishes there. Okay, you get the point. So I think there are a lot more things we can do with it, and I'm curious to see how far we can go, but that's an example. So play with it and have fun. Next steps. First thing we want to go is fix bugs. People are already using the API and are finding bugs and filing bugs for us, so that's where we're gonna prioritize. But at the same time, we want to collect ideas on new features and improvements. And we're not going to work on them right now, but next quarter we are going to prioritize them and task them. And the next thing I want to say is we are having a session in Wikimedia Developer Summit concerning PageView API. We're going to discuss this a bit more in depth and answer all your questions. Here's a list of links. Everything that I used in this presentation is here, plus a couple links on documentation and a couple ways to reach out to the analytics team for any comments or bugs or anything. Oh, that's it. Do you have any questions?
Yes, thank you, Marcel. First question, IRC, is how far back is historical data?
Right now, we have data since September 2015, but we are planning to backfill until May this year. This is still ongoing, but that's the plan.
Well, thank you. Any other questions? I'm going to plant a question. Are there any limitations on, for example, rate limitations or limitations on API?
Yes, for sure. We haven't tested them yet, but so we're planning to find the limits as soon as possible and then react.
Okay, thank you. So does REST-based cache? Another question from mine.
Sorry?
Does REST-based?
Yes, REST-based caches, and yeah, it's a feature of REST-based. So and all the URLs are designed to improve caching.
Cool. Any other questions about
Thank you. I have a question. So how do the results in task flow and the are they exactly the same, or
Sorry, I couldn't hear the question. Can you repeat it, please? The
there
audio is
any
very bad.
is there any difference between PageView stats on StatsGrok and API?
Yes. The page view is in stats.grok.se. Is that what you meant? Okay. The page views on stats.grok.se are based on another source of data. We are calculating these page views on the new page view definition from the research team. And this definition doesn't count some page views that we counted before as page views. So there may be some differences between them. Yes.
So I'm assuming that it's going to be very difficult to convert because you have this data back to the seven aspect, so it's very difficult to convert that and use it for API, right?
Sorry, it's very difficult for me to hear the question.
So my question is, how hard is it to convert the data from StatsGrok to use it in API?
That's a good question. I think this deserves a discussion, and probably the task that we're using for discussions on the session that we're having in Wikimedia Developer Summit, or either a separate email thread. Yeah, that's a difficult question.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to elaborate a little bit more on that. So that's wikimedia.org. Updated and in May, because the new definition is better at filtering bots, so the numbers dropped. And the same thing would happen to yours numbers if you suddenly jumped over to this new PageView API. But we should continue that discussion to see if there's anything that can be done to smooth the transition. Okay. Cool.
Hey, Kevin, we're having a little bit of an audio technical difficulty. If we can just pause the talk real quickly. I'm going to exit the Hangout and re-enter. Okay. Okay, that might alleviate the problem.
Right. Well, thank you, and let's give a hand to Marcel.
Good.
Cool. So next up is Dimitri with some demos on the Android app.
Hey everyone, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, I apologize if my voice is a little stuffy. I'm just coming back from a slight cold. But yeah, my name's Dimitri. I'm a software engineer on the mobile apps team, and I'm the product owner for the Android app. Let me just share my screen. Okay. So I just wanted to catch everyone up on what's been going on with our Android app, because we've been working on some cool new things and continuing to make improvements all the time. The most significant thing to note is that the app is in the process of switching over entirely to using our mobile content service, which is built on top of REST-base. So the content service was spearheaded by another Android developer, Bernd Sitzman, and all the rest of the Android team has been making small contributions here and there to this service. So for anyone who's not familiar with this, the goal of the content service is to enable any application to ask for an article title and give back the article broken down by sections not just broken down by sections, but also include all kinds of really useful metadata that would normally require making additional network requests or additional expensive processing by the client. So like here's an example. We asked for the article on Paris, and here's the response from the server. It's formatted in JSON, and we get things like the Wiki Data description right there, and we get the lead image for the article. And for the lead image, we get URLs to 3 different resolutions of the image so that the client can just decide which one to use based on the display size or bandwidth considerations. If the article has a recorded pronunciation of the title, we can get the URL of the audio file for that. If the article has a geolocation tag, we get the latitude and longitude. And that's all followed by the actual HTML of the sections. And another thing we're still working on is including a full collection of all the images and media in the article, not just the lead image, with similar, multi-resolution URLs and captions coming from Commons, things like that. So again, these are all things that would either require additional network requests or some complicated DOM traversals that no longer have to be done by the client. So the Android app is really serving as a proof of concept for what it would be like for an application to get its content exclusively from this kind of service now. And the results are pretty encouraging. Since we only need to make a single network request to get the content and all the metadata, our time to first paint really just comes down to the network latency for fetching that single response. And because we get all that metadata along with it, we can have native components that consume the metadata and behave really smoothly and responsively. And by the way, when you tap on links, you get link previews like this, which we've had these for a while now, but these are now hooked up to the content service as well, and we get a short extract from the article and image gallery of thumbnails that you can scroll through. So anyway, in the coming weeks, we'll be rolling this out to a small percentage of our beta users, and then ratchet up from there and see how the service performs under increasing load. When I say roll this out, I mean roll out the version of the app that talks to the content service. The app's been around for a long time now. And also the content service, I'm running this from my local machine right now, but it is already deployed to production. I'm just running the most bleeding edge version over here. So yeah, I'm looking forward to those results. And one other thing I wanted to highlight from the app is the integration of the new Maps functionality. So previously the app had a nearby feature where it showed you a list of articles that were nearby you. Well, now you get an actual map with pinpoints to articles that are nearby you. And of course, this is using our new OpenStreetMap tile server, and that's working pretty nicely. You can tap on any of the markers, and you get the same kind of link preview that you see when tapping on regular links. You can pan and zoom, as you would expect, and it doesn't necessarily, you don't have to see just articles nearby you. You can, zoom out as far as you want and go to a different part of the country or the world and zoom in there and get articles near there. So we'll be rolling this out to beta in a week or two at the most, followed very shortly by a full production rollout. So yeah, I think that ought to do for now. So, and still doesn't have the Wikipedia app installed, I would highly recommend it, and I'm not at all biased towards the app.
Right, thank you. Let me ask a couple questions that came in on IRC. The first one, what is the taxonomy based on? Are there metadata for the schema? I believe that's based on the JSON you were showing earlier.
So the taxonomy of the JSON is just something that we basically invented based on the things that we needed at the time. It's been evolving, for a while now, and yeah, we've gotten feedback not just from our team, but from the iOS team, and we've been asking the mobile web teams also to sort of comment on what they might need in the future and how the contents that were returned by the service can evolve even further.
Cool. And a question from S. Are hover cards and pop-ups, are the extensions going to use this?
They certainly can. I don't know what their plans are for this, but yeah, like one of the goals of the service is to be consumed not just by the Android app, but anyone who wants to consume it. It's much better than the MediaWiki API.
Cool. And S had another question, which was, are you parsing the content, the HTML content, for the pronunciation, or is that stored somewhere?
So if you're talking about the audio pronunciation URL, so that actually comes from the HTML because that's encoded somewhere into the wiki text. The content service runs on top of Parsoid, so it takes the output from Parsoid, which takes wiki text and transforms it into HTML with some really nice classes on top of it, and that's what we feed into like a temporary DOM and parse things out of there. So that's how we get those URLs.
2 minutes.
Thank you, Dimitri. This is fascinating. I'm curious how easy it is to go from these new developments with your geotags into something like Street View or Google Maps or Google Earth, and even ahead into a kind of 3D virtual world potential from Wikipedia.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, in the Android app, we could easily do something like, if you tap on a button, it would bounce you out to the Google Maps application or Google Earth with Street View with that location fed into it. So you would automatically go to, say, the Google Earth app and get that Street View. Is that sort of what you meant? Yeah.
All right, and I have a question. The nearby map feature looks amazing. Got a timeline for iOS release at all?
I can't speak to the timeline for iOS. You'd have to talk to the product owner for that. That would be Josh Miner.
Very well.
But thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dimitri. Let's give him a hand. Well, thank you. So our next lightning talk will be by Andrew Green on banner history.
Hi, thank you so much. I just, by the way, I just uploaded the slides to the MediaWiki page. So if anyone would like to refresh that, I have this. It's like a just-in-time slide creation system. So it's there right now. Can you see this? Those who are also looking on the Hangout, the slide there.
You just see you. Are you able to share your screen? So.
Oh, I thought I was. Okay, one sec. Okay. Yeah. Okay, how's that?
Yeah, there we go. We see it. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. So yeah, I'm going to tell you a bit about the banner history logging system, the new banner history logging system in Central Notice. which records banner displays, a history of banners displayed to a user in a way that we think respects user privacy. Just a quick overview of the initial requirement, which was more data on banner history, on banner display history. Basically, users' actions in relation to a banner, clicking on donate or on any other action requested by the banner or closing the banner, depends on more than just the content. It depends on what banners the user has seen before or what banners they've not seen. However, previous systems didn't really get very much data about this. In some cases, there was a count of previous banners seen, depending, but there was no information on the timeline, so they could have been seen a long time ago or recently. More data on this has the potential to let us target banners much better and thereby show people less banners. Here are some really specific questions that the fundraising analytics team was looking into when they asked for this feature. One was to find out how effective the current large banner first approach is. I guess most of you probably know that for fundraising, large banner is shown, especially or only to users who have never seen a large banner before. And then after that, there's a series of other kinds of banners that are shown. There's a really important question here. How does the cost of continuing to show banners, or when does the cost of that in terms of annoyance, in terms of disruption of user activity, when does that outweigh the possible benefit of another donation? A more general way of framing that is, when does banner fatigue set in? When are you just too tired of seeing banners, especially fundraising, but maybe banners of various types, so they just have no impact on you anymore? Obviously, at that point, we want to stop showing banners, and there's really a huge possible array of, a huge amount, practically infinite possibilities we could think of for how to target banners, time of day, wiki, lots of different logic we could put into the to run on client side without invading user privacy. So this system of logging and viewing the history of banners seen is basically a first step to explore the universe of possibilities here and eventually have more effective banners and thereby show less banners in the end. So here is an overview of the banner history system as it is now. So when you enable the system for a campaign, the logger will start accruing log entries in the user's browser in local storage. So with this, the user can see everything that we store and knows exactly what we're storing and what we're not. So there's no tracking of users via unique ID. It's all local and visible. And here are the main data items stored, which campaign the user is on, which banner is being shown, the approximate time and date of the display of the banner. And this is limited in accuracy, specifically so that there's no way to correlate this to server logs. So there's no way to find out from this log, which page the user was viewing or which user this is. If it's a logged in user, which is actually not relevant for fundraising because only anonymous users see banners for fundraising. But in any case, for any kind of community or fundraising campaign, there should be no way to correlate the history accrued here to the user activity on the wiki in any way. And another data point that's stored is just the status of the banner in terms of being hidden or shown because of this logic whereby sometimes a user is selected as being in a campaign, but there's logic that runs that says, okay, let's not show the banner now, or let's show it, 2 or 3 banners over a set of page views, and then let's stop showing them for a certain amount of time. So data about what the result of this logic was on this particular page view is also stored in the banner history log. Data not stored, no information is stored about articles seen or user action taken, nothing that can uniquely identify the user, no generated unique IDs either. The details of how the data is sent back, a percentage of users, currently it's at 1% for the campaigns where this is enabled. So this percentage is selected randomly, and for those selected users, the full history, or as much of the history as we can cram into an event logging call, is sent back to our servers. Then also, if a user clicks on donate on a fundraising banner, their banner history is always sent back. And here was a tricky thing that we thought a lot about to try to get relevant data while still protecting user privacy. When a user clicks on donate, we had to generate a temporary unique ID that is passed on into the systems after the banner for collecting donations, and that allows us to correlate given history to donations. However, this unique ID is completely temporary, only stored in memory. It's never persisted anywhere on the client, so it can't be used for tracking the user subsequently. And even though the user is subject to a different privacy policy once they click to donate, there is still no way that we can correlate this banner history to any data related to their wiki activity. And finally, just to mention that this new feature was developed in tandem with other changes in Central Notice, specifically a system that allows us to run code before a banner is chosen. This was important for other performance improvements that we need to do in Central Notice, especially the last one, which is upcoming, which is the removal of the dreaded special record impression calls, which are calls that are made to record without sampling in the case of fundraising when a banner is shown. But this is the old system of recording banner displays, which doesn't have any history associated with it. So this is going to be removed, and the new system of running campaign-specific code before the banner is shown helped us do the banner history logging and a few other things, including the removal of special record impression, which is pending but coming up soon. And also we had to make some changes in the algorithm for choosing a banner, and there was also a big refactor of client-side Central Notice code. So this is all kind of wrapped up together and planned as part of a single roadmap that allowed us to get the feature out and bundle in these important changes that were not really very much user-facing, except in the sense of improved performance, but that were quite important nonetheless. And that's all. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you, Andrew. We have a question from IRC. How many browsers support local storage?
Yeah, that's a great question. So of the browsers that we actually support for showing banners, an initial check of this is actually, it's a very small number that don't support local storage. It's 0.1%. This data is obtained by the fact that when the banner histories are sent back, for users that didn't have local storage enabled, if the user was in the sample to be sent back, then instead of a banner history, we just get a message saying this user didn't have a local storage enabled. So that the idea is that will allow us to take into account the percentage of users that don't have local storage enabled when we when we do statistics on the banner history data. And so an initial sample of a 1 hour period with about 14,000 banner histories sent back, I believe. I think the actual percentage of banner histories that said no local storage available was 0.06%. However, those are page views, not actual users. So, for example, if a user doesn't have local storage enabled, but went back several times to the site and just happened to fall into the sample several times, then then they may be sending that message several times to the log. So it's hard at this point still to correlate page views and banner history sent back to actual users. I hope that with some statistical processing we'll be able to get better correlation there, but in any case, it's a very small number of users that don't have local storage. There are browsers that, such as Opera Mini, that people use and that don't support local storage, but at least most of the time, those browsers don't show banners either. And anyway, the case is the same for old Internet Explorer browsers, for example.
Great, thank you. Any more questions? Cool. All right, thank you, Andrew.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Cool. So our next speaker is local, Danny, and he'll talk about the Communitypeck Survey.
Hello. There it is. Hi, I'm Danny Horn. I am product manager for the Community Tech team here at the Wikimedia Foundation. If you are not familiar, Community Tech, we are a fairly new team, just got started in July. And we are here to meet the needs of the super active Wikimedia contributors, find features and fixes that's going to help them to be productive. And so we just did a week-long tech support satisfaction survey sent out to 1,000 people. And the idea was for us to get a baseline on sort of how satisfied contributors feel for the level of technical support that they're getting from the foundation, and then also to figure out some of the areas that we need to figure out and look more into. So go super fast through this. It was held in October. We looked at 10 Wikimedia sites. It was 9 Wikipedia languages plus Commons. We invited 100 people, randomized from the most active in the last 30 days, and then they took a survey that was on Qualtrics. And we actually got a nice response to it. 1,000 invites sent out. We got 467 people responding. Russian, for some reason, like immediately we got a whole bunch of stuff from Russian. Japanese, Portuguese, and French did not like our survey. And so here's just the super big number. One question was just overall, how satisfied are you with the technical support that you receive? There's some variation between the projects. The big number that we're looking at is 48% saying that they are satisfied or very satisfied, which is not an awesome number, but we wanted a baseline, now we have one. So then breaking that down a bit, we asked people how satisfied they were, so from a scale from very satisfied to very dissatisfied, about some of the things that the foundation could be helping with. And so you can see here, if you look at the green and the purple together, these are much better than the others. So the stuff that we did well was reviewing recent changes, helping with contributing new articles, and managing the stuff that people really said that we were not performing on was helping to identify content problems, supporting wiki projects, and then supporting gadgets and bots and third-party systems. Now, by project, this was also super interesting. Again, the green and the purple show either satisfied or very satisfied. Russian, they just love us. It's amazing. 60%. I have no explanation for this, by the way. Russian loves us with 60%. And then there's sort of a four-way tie for number 2, English, French, German, and Portuguese. But again, it's 51% satisfaction, so we're not crazy about it. The projects that reported the lowest satisfaction, there was Japanese with just 26%, Wikimedia Commons with 38%, and then Chinese over here with 44%. Definitely, there's a qualitative piece that I'll talk about in a second, but we definitely saw dissatisfaction from Commons, both here in the ratings, then also, as you'll see, with qualitative answers. Japanese, just because I find this interesting, more than any other project, tended to vote for stuff in the moderately area. I found that striking. We're sort of wondering about sort of cultural differences, where in Japan, possibly sort of discouraged from going to the extremes. And so that might sort of relate to why we see so few in the extremes and so much in the middle. But that is just a random guess from me. And then this seems super interesting to me. So this is how satisfied people are with technical support by how many years they've been active. And as you can see, there's sort of a 1 year or less where it's kind of 50-50. And then as people have been involved with the projects, we see less and less satisfaction. There's a couple interpretations that we can make out of this. One is that just the more that people get to know the project, the more that people get to know the Wikimedia Foundation, they like us less. I don't think that's necessarily actually the case. Another interpretation is that folks who were here, 7 to 10 years ago, that actually predated the foundation really existing and providing support. We'll see some of that in the comments as well. That I think there's some kind of generational difference where folks who have come in and joined the project when the foundation exists and is providing some support start to see it differently. So yeah, the qualitative stuff. What I have right now, we're getting volunteers to translate all of the different languages. Right now, I've got English, I've got Commons, and I've got Arabic, just to give you a little taste of the kinds of things that we're seeing. One thing that's super interesting on both English and Commons are these questions about not just what is the foundation doing, but also what is the foundation's role in working with other projects. So here's an example, somebody asking about, it would be great to actually have a direct line to the foundation. A few people said this, that I'm not necessarily that technically savvy and I have no idea where to go to ask for help. So that's something that Communitypeck is definitely going to be working on. And then there's also some folks who say, really, the foundation should only stop in when there's a problem that needs to get fixed. The fact that I haven't seen you kind of enter the wiki much is fine, because if it's necessary, that means there's a serious issue. But folks are still asking for ways to help new editors. And then also, there's several requests for different kinds of gadgets and bots for workflow. On Commons, so remember I said we got very low scores from Commons. These are some of the reasons why. Commons definitely, some of the people there had really strong opinions about the foundation should stay out of our wiki. So the WNF staff, you're there to make the servers stay on. Aren't these things handled by the community rather than the foundation? So this is just a small sample, but I think we have a troubled relationship with Wikimedia Commons, and I think that's something interesting that we ought to be thinking about and working with. But there were also folks who had some specific requests, and so this one is about like identifying copy bio and vandalism faster. We got a couple of those. For the Arabic comments, it actually was really, really different. We didn't see anybody sort of self-reflecting on the role of the foundation. They just really want help, and they want help with a whole bunch of things. So some of it is software related. So they want help with content translation, which we're starting to do as a foundation. We need to deal with how hard it is to edit articles. And then some of it was just about kind of community problems, where there were a few comments where they said the administrators are pushing new people away. It's very difficult. So it's interesting to kind of see that coming from a wiki that I think the foundation hasn't necessarily had that much interaction with yet.
2 minutes.
So the thing that we are doing next is we've got a wishlist survey that is coming up. We're through the proposals phase, and we're now about to get into the voting phase, where people are actually coming and saying, here's the technical support that we want, and they're voting on those projects. One thing that's interesting is we're seeing some super different things there compared to the kinds of comments that we got on the other survey. Watch lists are coming up a lot. People really want to see changes to the watch list. And then another nice thing that's happening with the wish list survey right now is that there's very strong interest in specifically making a couple features for Commons. So we might be able to kind of work through some of the issues that the foundation has had on Commons till recently. So, folks have questions about this? things what we have found.
None on IRC yet. Any questions here?
Thank you for the presentation. Always felt that it's really hard to ask or measure satisfaction without being specific about the things that you ask for. If you ask people to evaluate the local government, it's very hard because they have some good programs and they have some bad programs and they have like some in between, right? Did you actually make sure that your respondents were well informed about the services that the foundation provides, or make the questions more specific about how do you evaluate, or how much are you satisfied with certain things, breaking down by categories?
Yeah, there were 3 big questions that we asked. The first one was just a general overall satisfaction, where we were looking for sort of how are people seeing this, and then the second one was this was specifically asking in the following, what is this, 8, 9 areas, how satisfied are you with that? And then the third question was sort of, apart from that, what else do you think we should be helping with? So it was kind of a range of things. Anybody else?
Thank you.
I have a general question. So what's next, right? There will be the wish list, but how will you go about prioritizing, and what is your bandwidth for all the requests that you'll get?
Oh, we're fixing everything. No, we're totally on it. We got like a 5-person team. It's going to be amazing. No, the wish list survey is going to give us a prioritized backlog to start to respond to and work on. We'll have to sort of evaluate the stuff at the top, and then that backlog also is going to be shared not just with the community tech team, but also with developer relations and community engagement team, so that we can encourage volunteers to come and develop some of those. Also, some of the data that we get may be interesting to the other product teams at the foundation. So there's a lot of work coming up, but it'll be really nice to have like actually a backlog of stuff that we know that people really want.
And when will be the next survey?
Oh, and so we'll probably do another tech satisfaction survey like this in a year, after we've had some time to do some stuff, and then we'll see what that looks like.
Right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Give Danny a hand. Cool. So our next speaker is Scott, who's going to give us an update on a donation to Wiki Data.
Hello, everyone. I'm Scott McCloud. I'm the founder and developer of World University and School, which is like Wikipedia in 300 languages, and MIT OpenCourseWare in 7 languages, and Yale Open Yale courses in 1 language. It's all under the umbrella of Creative Commons licensing. So this is where this is where World University and School began, and of course I was teaching on Harvard's virtual island about 7 or 8 years ago. We're like Wikipedia with best STEM-centric OpenCourseWare. We want to offer online accrediting degrees in all countries' main languages. So we donated World University and School to Wiki Data for its 3rd birthday on October 29th. And what is it? Well, the first perspective is all languages. We would like to be in all 8,000 languages as wiki schools for open teaching and learning. You could teach to your web camera, add something. Anthropologists, linguists could go out in the field to a language where there are only 10 people left, and in Google Hangouts, distributed people collect that language, aggregate it, add it to machine learning. We would like to be in all nation states for accrediting university degrees. Wikipedia, I think, lists 259 countries by population, and UN has 160, 170, 180 countries. We would like to have, these are all the sort of main sections, areas. There are about 10 main areas at World University and School. Think of them as a template, as a design, as a plan, as we begin to develop in Wiki Data. you at World University and School and admissions registering at World University and School, potentially 5-6 billion people if we're all teaching to our web cameras. We're also planning, again, bachelor, PhD, law, medicine, it's not up there, IB, International Baccalaureate, high school diplomas. We seek to matriculate our first students in English, then in UN languages and large languages. So students would be studying from their high school rooms. 50 from Brazil in English, 50 from India, perhaps beginning in 2017 for an undergraduate degree. That's MIT OpenCourseWare Center. Subjects, add a subject. You have an interest in green chemistry, add something about that. You have an interest about a certain species of birds, add that as a subject page. You have a creative subject in music, create that, and add MIT OpenCourseWare courses, add Yale Open Yale courses, hop into Google Hangout. Courses in schools, potentially aggregating also great universities OpenCourseWare. There are about 50 great universities already listed on this page. Everything from Oxbridge to universities in France to universities in China. They have all open educational resources. Aggregate that, begin to process that with machine learning over time as well. So we become a kind of meta resource for all great universities online as Wiki. A huge vision, a music school at World University and School. So we would like to have all instruments, each a Wiki subject page or a school, in all potential languages, nearly 8,000 languages. So from each Wiki school or subject, one could add the greatest YouTubes, one could interactively play music in something like a Google Hangout. Could you do this right now, even in real time, since there's lag in Google Hangouts from cell phones with the video in Google Hangouts? Probably. Library resources. We would like to be in all 8,000 languages, 7,938 languages per Glottolog right now. Each becomes a school. We would like to aggregate all the databases of libraries to each language, potentially integrating Europeana, DPLA, all under the CC license. We're looking for open and free resources. Maybe we'll network with state libraries with their somewhat public mission, at least to their nation states. Museums, all 8,000 languages, potentially each add databases. Ideally, this will emerge in a real virtual Earth. So we'll be able to go into Google Street View, Google Maps, Google Earth, Open Simulator Second Life, and pull a book off a shelf and look at it in digital goggles or in other ways, such as on the screen. So this becomes potentially interactive and 3D. Hardware resources possibilities. Add all interesting, creative, open resources, such as Raspberry Pi or someone in Africa who, what was his name? The MIT person, Kelvin Doe, who was brought over from Sierra Leone, who was creating interesting electronics out of a dump. He probably would add interesting resources in a YouTube, for example. Add these from every country and its main languages. Educational software. Add all our creative projects to each language's wiki subject page. The wiki subject pages in each language will grow into hundreds, thousands of pages as schools grow in each language. Anticipate and plan for machine learning, and interlingually especially. It's the interlingual aspect that World University and School potentially is mind expanding around. So Wiki Data, the new database that's 3 years old, a Wikimedia asset is in 300 languages. It's interlingual. It's anticipating machine learning, Sparkle and OWL. Research. Add a research project you're interested in. Integrate all the interesting bioinformatics databases out there. If you need a clinical trial, if you're a researcher at UC Berkeley or at MIT and you have a rare disease with people distributed across the world, send them packets in the mail and create a set of protocols that you might even monitor over group video. So you at World University and School with all the basic research, fundamental research can emerge in each country and in each language, potentially. And again, anticipate and plan for machine learning and interlingually as well. We have a foundation. We'd like to be a growth story for Wikidata, for Wikipedia, for Google, for the web. So the all languages thing and the all countries thing opens up all kinds of horizons for innovation that will expand potentially the web in very far-reaching ways. We plan to accredit in 200 countries, and we would like to become the Harvard, MIT, Stanford, Oxbridge of the internet. So here are some questions I thought might be relevant to this talk. They're on the slides on the Lightning Talk page. And are there questions here now? Because the interactivity is, the questions are most helpful for creating knowledge generative conversation.
Yeah, I got a question from IRC, which is, have you looked into improving wikiversity.org, like using that as a platform for courses?
Great question. Our pedagogical model is on the degree side, not the wiki school side of 8,000 languages, is for the undergraduate degree, basically a Reed College pattern. Required first-year class, junior qualifying exam, senior thesis on the MIT OpenCourseWare, which is in 7 languages. The other languages besides English, the 6 languages have maybe 20 to 100 courses, and they're typically translated by universities in those countries. So we have aggregated, Wikiversities at World University and School, but it's integrating the plans, the visions, the templates. That's something we would do more fulsomely with Wikiversity. I did come into conversation 3 years ago with someone. We have a very different pedagogical model who was from Wikiversity. And we didn't pursue that.
Cool. Any local questions? Not yet. So, but I'm also curious, right? Like, how are you working with Wiki Data right now? Like, you donated knowledge to them, right? Have they ingested it?
So, Wiki Data in the past year or so has been attempting to focus its external projects, its sisters projects, and they've developed a number of different ways. We're out of the box in some ways. So we donated the 720 wiki pages that are in Wikia Wiki right now, mostly in English, besides the MIT OpenCourseWare in 6 other languages, to them. And we seek to develop in Wikidata, having developed that. And with a media wiki as a front end, and how we do this, and how we grow. From being from within Wikidata now, which is CC and open, with this huge template plan, this huge design plan, this huge growth story for the web is a question that's unfolding.
Cool. Any other questions? No, people are light on questions today. Cool. Well, thank you, Scott.
Thank you very much, Wikimedia Foundation.
All right, so this concludes this month's version of Lightning Talks. Thank you very much.